I want you to know the hope that comes from people of faith, that when they get the bad news of something, it's couched in faith. The Bible says we do not grieve as if we have no hope. We also do not suffer as if we have no hope, because Christ was risen from the dead and shares that same strength with us. One of my favorite stories, I get so much more out of my job, I think, than I give away, but that's the way it is, that Ralph Grodum was a member of Mount Calvary in Egan, where I was before. Ralph was married to his longtime wife. I did not get to meet her and them because she was buried before I came, and he lived alone for 4 or 5 years, but then he met this sassy woman named Tess, and she was about, late 70s, and she was sassy. Oh, she was great. She would go out dancing every Friday, Saturday night. If it closed at 3 a.m., she would be there until 3 a.m., but it closed at 1 and she was dicked. She loved Jesus, she loved Ralph, she loved to dance. They fell in love, and he was so happy. Ralph was just living life large, and then he got cancer. Ralph wanted to live long enough to keep on dancing with Tess. He wanted to drink as much German beer as possible, and number 3, he wanted to beat me in golf. We went golfing every Friday in the men's golf league, and he never even came close, and it made him mad, and it made me happy. And he had those goals in his life, but he had cancer. Pancreatic, you know how that goes. But then there's Ralph. So he's in hospice. He lived 8.5 miles away from the church. One day I went there. I went every single day because he was my buddy, but also that's what we do. And I sat there and he was sleeping. I didn't want to drive back and back and back and back, and I've been there every single day, so I just stared at him. I stared at him and I noticed that he was holding his hand beside him, and he had a green giant can of green beans in his hands. And I thought that was a bit odd. But he'll tell me when he wakes up. He wakes up and he looks at me and says, "Hey, buddy." I go, "Hey, how you doing?" He said, I'm doing fine." And then all of a sudden he went, "Oh, that's right." He starts lifting. Gospel truth. I go, "What are you doing?" Goes, "I want to go dancing with Tess. I want to drink my German beer. And I'm going to beat you at golf. You know I am." He died 4 days later. But everything is going to be fine in the end. If it's not fine, it's not the end. Do you believe that when you are in your life with suffering, that Christ is there holding you up? My guess is if you're my age, you've made it through some skirmishes, yes? And through things you didn't think you were going to make it through, and you know why you made it through it, because of the love of Christ and the community of saints, the people who love you. Ralph woke up in heaven and said, "I'm going to go dancing." And I don't know, I know the song, I don't know if there's beer in heaven, I don't know, no one's told me, it's not in the Bible. And when I get to heaven, he's going to say, "Let's have another run at that golf. And I don't know if they're winners and losers, but I'm going to try to win." Life is odd. Life is strange and difficult. But I want you to go home, and I want you to realize that when you're going away, I don't know how many Easters you've had, but boy, Easter rings more true this year, because everything is going to be fine in the end. If it's not fine, it's not the end. Because you know what? God is always with us, and God always forgives us, and God is always, always sustaining us. From the beginning of life to the end and everything in between.